Troublesome times are here, filling men's hearts with fear. Freedom we all hold dear, now is at stake. You're harming your heart to God, saves from the chastening rod. Seek the way pilgrims trod, Christians away.
We are continuing our discussion from the Sermon on the Mount. And tonight we're going to look at the second metaphor that Christ used. First he says we are the salt of the earth. Now he talks about the light of the world. Now just think with me. Many of us, if not all of us, we give little or no thought about light and darkness. We just expect them to come and go as we need. And maybe sometimes we need to ask ourselves, why did Jesus use these terms? What did he really expect for us to learn? Or did he expect us to dig a little deeper so that we would really understand what it is like to be a citizen in the kingdom of God? When you go to the book of Genesis chapter 1 and the first couple of verses, there are some thoughts that hit you. He says, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. And then he says, and darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Here we understand that God created chaos. And out of this chaos, he's going to bring order. So the next question is going to be, what is the first thing in this order he's going to bring? Look at verse number 3. He says, let there be light. Just imagine a place of darkness. You can't see your hand, just complete darkness. Then God uttered some words. He says, let there be light, and the darkness vanished away. And so we are moved more or less to inquire about this darkness, or about this light. Light is the source of all life on our planet. I just thought of digging a little deeper, find out why is light so important? Why? Let's see if we can find out. We just said light is the source of all our life on the planet. The importance of light could be comprehended as plants synthesize nutrients from light using chlorophyll and filter the air we breathe. Animals and humans depend on plants for survival. Why do you have trees? You need some oxygen, right? So you have trees, but what about light? Is light important in this process? Everything depends on the light in some way. The importance of light could be comprehended as plants, as we said, plants synthesize nutrients from light using chlorophyll and filter the air we breathe. Even the common air that we breathe needs light. Again, we're asking the question, why did Jesus use light? You are the light of the world. Why did he use this word? Again, we go back to Genesis and we find how important light was. As we said, animals and humans depend on plants for survival. Therefore, everything depends on light in some way. The human body needs, let me repeat this, The human body needs to be exposed to natural light and its rhythm to function properly. Now, we love to go to the store at Walmart or any pharmacy to buy some vitamin D, right? But what is the best vitamin D? Light. The sunshine. You can take all of that stuff as much as you want to. It'll be a long time before you even begin to work. But just be on the outside, light. There's a natural vitamin D. It is good. I'm glad God put all those things in the Bible so that we would dig deeper to find out why. Why is like we talked about salt and we saw the reasons for salt. Now we're looking at light. The effects of light and endogenous production of vitamin D and melatonin are well known, as well as the role they play in emotional dysfunction such as seasonal affective disorder. I didn't know anything about it until I went to search. Man. That a person who is not exposed to light got some disorder. Wow. I didn't know that. So let's discuss, why do we need light? One of the significance of light, it plays a major role in maintaining good health. Why do you walk in the day? Why do you have to go through all that sweat and grime? You can help me. The main factor controls our circadian cycle. This cycle is responsible for controlling our entire life. It controls the release of hormones in our body, even our brain, nerves, and heartbeat. No, we are not discussing all these subjects. We are just trying to show and to understand why Jesus used light. And we will get to that in a moment, to show the importance of light, and then to see why Christ would say, "Ye are the light of the world." If we cannot live in this life without natural light, if we cannot be healthy without natural light, how can the world be healthy without spiritual light? And Christ says, I am that light. So I bring health to the world. Even though I may have sicknesses, but my life, if it is characterized by the Word of God, it brings life to a world of darkness. It also influences, that is, light influences and controls our waking states and levels of consciousness. Now, you can notice that if you stay in darkness, you may sleep all the time. But you put some light on, and something happens. Just the light shining through the window wakes you up. Ensuring a good incidence of light in our environment can even have a positive effect on our mood. Can influence the critical chemical reactions of our body. Can reduce emotional problems such as depression, for example. Wow. Some folks need to go outside more often. You stay inside all the time, you get depressed. All kind of stuff begin to get to your mind. Get out there and walk or do something, and it can help your mood. Get out into the sunshine and enjoy God's light. It can improve the quality of our sleep, can make us healthier and immune to pain, and even improve our productivity and job satisfaction. I used to wonder something growing up. Never knew the reason for it. I don't know if they even knew the reason for it. When you went to school, every single day there was a break time called recess. And in recess you go outside to play. And all the kids are playing one sport after the other. And when they come back in, you're fresh again. Even some kids who may have some problems, they may not be able to produce as much in the classroom, but put them on a basketball court and you can get their attention. It's amazing what light and sunshine can do. And again, it even brings job satisfaction. Lunchtime, take a walk. Put on your sneakers. Take a walk. Not 4 o'clock in the morning. That's still darkness. I ain't talking about anybody inside here. But you understand what we're talking about. The importance of sunshine and light. The lack of light in our lives and in our environments can cause disturbances in the production of melatonin, deregulate the release of growth hormones. I began to read that stuff, say, these are foreign stuff to me. But then I began to think, God knew all of this before he even created light. Man is just finding things out, but God knew all of this all the time. Many of us in growing up, this may be difficult for some of you to understand, but in growing up, boys did not stay in the house until 6 o'clock in the evening. You get up at 6 in the morning and you're out in the fields and to school. You go out in the field for 2 or 3 hours, then go to school. At recess time and lunchtime, you walk back home until 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the evening, you're out in the fields again. But girls were in the house. So many of us didn't learn to cook. Boys, that is. Mama used to say the kitchen belongs to the girls and the outside belongs to the boys. You bring the wood and everything else while the girls cook. Again, they had no idea what they were doing, but you can see God's wisdom in some things. Why some things happen. Without the sunshine, there'll be lack of vitamins. Without sunlight, our body does not synthesize vitamin D. It can impact the regulation of our metabolism, and it can also cause obesity, irritability, and tiredness. You want to see somebody who's irritable? That's somebody who stays in the house all day long. And if you stay one place all the time, you're going to put on a lot of weight. And you're going to get tired most of the times. And that makes you vulnerable to sicknesses. But the bottom line, listen to the bottom line. Light is so essential that generally we realize this importance when faced with a lack of it. I used to wonder as I look at television, those guys who work in the coal mines stay underground for so long. How did they do that? I know there was some ventilation somewhere, but how did they do that? Don't tell me that all of these guys came out and they spend the rest of their lives healthy. I don't know. Look, in a power outage, we look for something to be able to bring back light in, be it with a candle, a flashlight, or even a smartphone, right? Why do we look for light when the power goes out? Why? Is it just to see? Where we're concerned is just to see, but that darkness does something to us. Listen. Since the dawn of time, human beings have been looking for ways to illuminate the environment. The fire not only brought the heat to warm them and the opportunity to prepare food, but it also brought the chance to enter the unknown of darkness with enlightenment. From that, we look for ways to keep the light in our lives with candles and lamps. How many of you, maybe some of you not old-fashioned like we are, we bought lanterns. Keep around in case darkness go out. You might not find the flashlight. Some of us might not be able to operate the smartphone that easily, but we know where the matches are. And we can light that lantern because there's kerosene in it. We want light to be available when darkness comes. It doesn't matter, for that matter, the small lightning in a lamp frightens children. Softer lightning creates environments that are considered peaceful, and a stronger light invigorates the mood in any situation. The importance of light is both for living and non-living organisms. The word light is so important that it already brings the feeling of something good. A well-lit environment brings safety, comfort, and increased traffic and productivity. How many of us would love to get a flat tire on a dark country road? How many of us would like that to happen? No, we don't. But however, if the road is lighted, we feel a lot more comfortable. It's a matter of security, but also it's a matter of knowing that I'm not in darkness. Here Jesus Christ says, verse 14, Matthew 5, "You are the light of the world." And this implies something about the world. If we are the light of the world, then and what state is the world in? Darkness. The world is in darkness. Just as in his statement about salt, Jesus implies something about the world in its darkness. The only thing that can take away the darkness of sin in the world is the light of Jesus shining in and through his disciples. Let's take some scriptural journey tonight. Look at some passages. Darkness, of course, describes the condition of the world. Luke chapter 1 and verse 79. Purpose of Jesus, to give light to them that sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, to guide our feet into what? The way of peace. John chapter 1 and verse 5. John 1 and verse 5. Notice what he says. And the light does what? Where? In darkness. Now, if the light shines in darkness, where is the darkness? It's gone. Because light and darkness are not at the same place at the same time. And the light shineth in darkness, and the darkness didn't understand it. couldn't take it. John 3 and verse 19. Listen to this. And this is what? The condemnation that light is coming to the world, and man loves darkness rather than light. Why? Deeds are evil. The light will expose those deeds. The next one, Acts 26. Verses 17 and 18, Acts 26, verses 17 and 18. Listen to what this says. Delivering thee from the people and from the Gentiles, unto whom now I send thee, to do what? To open their eyes and to turn them from darkness to light, and from the power of Satan unto God, that they may receive forgiveness of sins and inheritance among them which are sanctified by faith that is in me. That's Jesus' message to the Apostle Paul, as Paul relates it now. I'm going to send you all to do this, to preach the gospel, because in preaching the gospel, there's something that's not part of the lesson I want you guys to think about. We say the Apostle Paul was the apostle to the Gentiles. Have you wondered why? He said he was from where? From Tarsus. Do you want to know where Tarsus was? In Turkey. Turkey. They didn't look like the Jews. You think of the Apostle Paul and think of the residents of Turkey. Why was it easy for him to go to the Gentiles? Just giving you something to think about. Paul saw from Taurus, the Taurus Mountains, somewhere in Turkey. You never thought about that, did you? Then you ask why, back in Romans chapter 16, the Apostle Paul mentioned that this other guy, Rufus' mother, was his mother. Why? Who was Rufus? Rufus, they say, was the son of Simon of Cyrene. Who was Simon of Cyrene? The one who was asked to bear the cross of Jesus. What was his nationality? I didn't say that, but think about it. How the Apostle Paul could so closely, how he could find such affinity with these people. Why it was not that difficult for him to be the apostle to the Gentiles. Think about it. Romans chapter 13 and verse 12. Sometimes you study, you read stuff, Brother Allen, and it's so interesting you can't stop. You can't stop. Bible geography is an interesting subject. Romans chapter 13 and verse 12. The night is fast spent, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is your salvation. No, I'm reading the wrong place. The night is fast spent, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off what? The works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 12, one of those familiar passages again. Ephesians 6. What does that say, Brother Amos? But darkness of this world Against the darkness of this world, what is the only thing that can control and get darkness away? It is the light. And that's what Jesus says, you are the light of the world. Let me ask a question. Do you think that Jesus just made these statements in passing? Remember, he knows everything. He is God. And remember, he has our interest in mind. And he wants us to know not just the value of spiritual things, but also the value of things that God made. If we have a proper value system about and knowing the value of things that God made, physical things, we will appreciate them and appreciate the spirituality involved. So therefore, the more that man knows about God's creation, the closer he is drawn to God. So even the sunshine should bring us close to God. The light should bring us close to God. God said there, and God look at the darkness, and he says, light. Let there be light. And there was light. So what happened to the darkness? So God decided, hey, I'm going to make a division. I'm going to give it some light. I'm going to give it some darkness. What do you do in darkness? What do you do in the night or in the day? Darkness describes that which Jesus came to overcome. John 8 and verse 12. John 8:12. Listen to Christ. John 8 and 12. Then Jesus spake again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world. He that followeth me, what? Shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Here's a question. How do you tolerate the darkness around you? How do you tolerate the darkness around you? Do you get so involved in the darkness around you till you become dark yourself? Or is your life the light that try to shine light into this dark environment in which you live and work? There are some serious questions I want to ask. I don't want us to get to think it in any other way than honest discussion about our Christianity. Look at John chapter 12, verses 35 and 36. Then Jesus said unto them, Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while you have light, lest darkness come upon you, for he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth. Jesus has just come to Bethany, where Martha and Mary lived. Remember? Martha is at home fussing about preparing food for Jesus. Mary is sitting at the feet of Jesus, while Martha is at home not thinking about being there with Christ. Their thoughts began to go through her dark mind. And she began to turn against her sister. Why aren't you here with me? And then he said to Jesus, tell Mary to come and help me out. And Christ says, what? Mary is doing the better part. Where is Mary? Where the light is. Learning more about Jesus, and Martha is fussing. Next question. What makes us fuss so much about some things that don't mean a thing? Cleaning up a dish, doing something in the house. But we fuss all day long, don't even talk to one another for days because of that. What caused that? Sin. We don't appreciate the light of Jesus that says, someone should be drawn to me, or my light should draw people to me with a better attitude. But instead, the bad attitude goes out, and that's what people see. You think of how many men and women prefer to stay on the job and work overtime rather than going home. Think how many would prefer to stay away than going home to be fussed at. What about the light? Do you know how much good sweetness can bring? John 12:46. And if any man hear my words and believe not, I judge him not, for I came not to judge the world. That's 47. Let's go to 46. I am come a light into the world, and whosoever believeth on me shall not abide. Where? In darkness. 2 Corinthians chapter 4 and verse 6. You should be there already. 2 Corinthians 4 and verse 6. Listen what he says. For God, who commanded the light to shine out of darkness, has shined where? In our hearts, to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. Colossians chapter 1 and verse 13, and I love this verse. Colossians 1 and verse 13. Who hath what? Delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath what? Translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. Remember again in Matthew 5, it's about kingdom living. God has taken us out of the world to be a part of his kingdom. And Jesus would say in John 18:36, my kingdom is not of this world. Then would my servants fight? Lord have mercy. And 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse number 5. What does that say? It says, you are all the children of light and the children of the day. We are not of the night nor of the darkness. Even more explicitly, the Apostle Paul explains how this darkness affects man. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 17 through 19. Ephesians 4, 17 through 19. That Christ may dwell in your hearts. Now I'm reading chapter 3, verse chapter 4, 17. This I say therefore and testify in the Lord, that he henceforth walk not as other Gentiles walk, in the vanity of their mind, having the understanding darkened, being alienated from the life of God through the ignorance that is in them because of the blindness of their heart, who past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness. Look what happens. It is the mind of man that is darkened, and thus produces a dark world. Man hardens his heart against God. He chooses his own way and thus becomes ignorant of God and of good way of living. Eventually, he becomes past feeling. Let's read Romans 1, 18 to 32. He becomes past feeling, and when that happens, his life is completely dominated by sin. That was the condition of the world when Jesus came. And it is the condition of the world even today. Unless we make a difference. We're going to stay there for tonight. And look at this other point next week. Ye are the light of the world implies the people of God as the only hope for the world. So remember that next week. Jesus said, you are the light of the world. We have seen the importance of light in as little time as we possibly can. You know it, I know it. We may not have thought about it before, but you think of Genesis 1, around verse 3. God created the earth, or the world. Darkness was upon the face of the earth, right? Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. When a person turns to the light of Jesus, there has to be a new attitude. There has to be a new formation. There has to be something new. We got to leave the old darkness aside. Now, there's temptation every day to stay in that darkness, but there's encouragement to get out of that darkness, because that darkness only takes me farther away from God and makes it more difficult to appreciate light. And the more I stay in the darkness of sin, the more I want to do more sin, so that all that is in me may not be known by those around me. But if I let the light of Jesus shine in me, it will eradicate the darkness. And folks will see a different me, and I would see a different me. And I would wonder, no, that's not me, man. I remember yesterday I was this or that. And you say that not with a longing, but with a gladness that says, I'm glad that I am not what I used to be. Wherever you are tonight, you're listening to this. Maybe your life is burdened. Maybe you have allowed darkness to control your life. Maybe other folks have controlled your life so much that you're in darkness. You don't even know the difference between right and wrong. Jesus is here to help you clean it up. Turn your life over to him. That's why he came to this world. You believe in him? Are you willing to let the darkness out? That means you'll have to repent. Are you willing to acknowledge who Jesus Christ is? You have to believe that he is indeed the light of the world. And if he shines in your life, and he promises that if you're baptized into him, he will make you clean. He'll wash away your sins. He'll remit them. He will give you salvation. But it's your choice. And remember what John says in 1 John chapter 1 and verse 7. Talks about the light, isn't he? Let your light so shine before men, Jesus said, that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. Why don't you come to Jesus tonight as together we stand and sing?
There's a call come ringing over the restless waves. Send the light, send the light. There are souls to rescue, there are souls to save. Send the light, send the light, send the light, the blessed gospel light. Let it shine from shore to shore. Send the light, the blessed gospel light. Let it shine